I'm sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. You used to rock me in the cradle of your arms. You said you'd hold me till the pains of life were gone. You said you'd comfort me in times like these, and now I need you. Now I need you. And you are gone. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Now that you've gone and left me, there's been so little beauty, but I know I saw it clearly through your eyes. Now the world outside is such a cold and bitter place. Here inside I have few things that will console. And when I try to hear your voice above the storms of life, then I remember all that I was told. I am
Bring me all your dreams, you dreamers. Bring me all your heart melodies, that I may wrap them in a blue cloud cloth.
Yes, I am sitting here
Far from the too rough fingers of the world.
to see the beauty.
Bring me all your dreams, you dreamers.
Think on the things that made me feel so wonderful when I was young. I think on the things that made me laugh, made me dance, made me sing. I think on the things that made me grow into a being full of pride. I think on these things, for they are true. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. I thought that you were gone, but now I know you're with me. You are the voice that whispers all I need to hear. I know a please and thank you and a smile will take me far. I know that I am you and you are me and we are one. I know that who I am is numbered in each gray house, and I know that I've been blessed again and over again. I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes. Yes, I am sitting here wanting memories to teach me to see the beauty in the world through my own eyes.
Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton as we gather together today to celebrate Halloween. My name is Reverend Jamie Boyce, and I have the great privilege of serving this congregation as the interim minister. Today, I will be your service leader. The First Unitarian Church of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of Erie, Neutral, Huron, Wendat, and Haudenosaunee and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources of the Great Lakes. As settlers, we continue to benefit from the land and its gifts, and we must ask ourselves how or if we have shared and cared for the earth and its gifts with integrity and reverence. We have a special thank you today for our worship team, religious educator Tim Versteeg, our youth storytellers, our music ministers, Rachel, Derry, Cindy, Carey, and Mary Ann Forbes. And of course, Bruce McPherson is taking good care of us as our tech support today. This morning, we gather into a time of storytelling and reflect on the question, how scary is Halloween really? When we lean into the mystery of life and linger there with curiosity and wonder, we have an opportunity to embrace the unknown and discover webs of connection that move through us and with us in time. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your life journey, you are welcome here. Let us open our hearts and minds as we gather to worship on this glorious day. We light our chalice this morning with the words from Reverend Florence Kaplow. She writes, as we kindle this flame, we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision, their courage lives on in our commitments, and their love continues to bless the world through us. Join me as we say in unison and light the chalice of our shared faith. May this flame be our light of friendship and love.
Number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do. Oh Lord, you've got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've got to sing. Oh Lord, you've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. You've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. When the Spirit says laugh, you've got to laugh. Oh Lord, you've got to laugh when the Spirit says laugh. 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 You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you've got to dance. Oh Lord, you've got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout. Oh Lord, you've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout.
Pumpkin Jack, written and illustrated by Will Hubble. Pumpkin Jack. When Tim carved his first pumpkin, it was fierce and funny and just perfect. A jack-o'-lantern this good deserves a name, so Tim gave it one, Jack. Long after the best trick-or-treat candy was eaten, Tim still kept Jack. At night, when a candle made Jack's face dance in the wall and filled the darkness with warm pumpkin smells, Tim felt Jack was almost magic. Yet too soon, the spell was broken. "This pumpkin is beginning to rot," announced Mom. "It's time to throw it out." Tim knew it was useless to argue. He carried Jack to the garden, which was filled with brown ghosts of last summer's plants. A dead garden is still better than a trash can, thought Tim. Still, it made him sad to leave Jack outside and alone. Whenever chores or play brought Tim to the garden, he looked at Jack. Every time, Jack was different. He became wrinkled, and his fierce smiles began to look silly. Mold spread over Jack's bright orange skin. As the days turned colder, Jack grew flatter. Winter began. Soon Jack was hidden beneath the snow, and Tim forgot about him. The cold, heavy jacket days came. Snowmen and sliding days, indoor days, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Valentine's. When all these days had passed and March worms melted in the snow, Jim found Jack. There wasn't much left. A faded and crumpled pumpkin skin, a stem, a few seeds. Jack's Halloween magic was a distant memory now. Tim scraped a thin blanket of earth over the last bits of his pumpkin. "Goodbye, Jack," he whispered. When spring turned to barefoot warm, a tiny sprout appeared where Jack had been. Tim found it and guessed what it was. In the days that followed, Tim weeded and watered and washed the sprout. Slowly and steadily, the plant changed and grew. It branched and spread a web of vines over the ground, but no pumpkins appeared. The days turned hot, flowers opened on the plant, each morning yellow stars that twisted shut and forever. In the afternoon, there's still no pumpkins. Finally, Tim found a little green ball growing behind a crumpled blossom. A pumpkin! Tim let out a whoop and ran to show his mom. By August, the plant had spilled out onto the lawn. Tim's favorite game became pumpkin hunting. He carefully waded among the leaves, searching for green pumpkins like hidden treasures. School began again, and the days cooled. Tim had less time to visit the garden. When he did, the pumpkin plant seemed tired. There were few new leaves, and the old tattered ones no longer hid the fat green pumpkins. Then one October morning, Tim woke to see frost coating the garden. The frozen plants seemed changed to pale blue glass. After school, Tim discovered what the frost has done. The pumpkin plant's leaves were as limp as paper. It was dying. Tim searched among the withered leaves for unripe pumpkin. He picked them and put them on the front porch, hoping for one more change. By Halloween, the pumpkins had ripened to bright orange. There were many, for the plant had been generous. Tim was generous, too. He gave away all but one. From jack-o'-lantern to seed to pumpkin again, the circle was almost complete. Now it was time for Tim to do his part. He gave his pumpkin a face, smiled at him in a fierce and funny way. Tim smiled too and said, "Welcome back, Jack."
Before Jack of the Lantern, there was Will of the Wisp. The carved pumpkins with candles in them we now see everywhere during Halloween may have started with swamp gas. Strange lights, resembling the flickering flames of lanterns, were often seen in bogs, swamps, and marshes of England and Ireland. And these lights were attributed to sprites, to spirits, and fairies of the other world, collectively known as will-o'-the-wisps. The lights were thought to be a trick of these spirits, leading travelers astray from their paths. Modern science explains them as natural phenomena, such as bioluminescence or chemiluminescence, caused by the oxidation of phosphine, diphosphine, and methane produced by organic decay. Many stories were told to explain these strange lights, including the Irish story of Stingy Jack, who attempts to bargain with the devil only to be cursed to roam the earth with only a hollowed turnip to light his way. So, Will of the Wisp became Jack of the Lantern. A wisp is a bundle of sticks, sometimes used as a torch. So Jack was substituted for Will, and Lantern for Wisp. Turnips, gourds, and pumpkins were hollowed out, and scary faces carved on them. Candles lit inside to ward off evil spirits who might be about on Samhain, when the veil between our world and the other world was said to be at its thinnest point of the year.
Picnic on Moon Mountain by Miriam Clark Potter.
Once there was a witch named Fly-by-Night. She had a big black cat for a pet. She used to look forward to Halloween because then she flew around on a broomstick with her cat behind her. It was great fun. Now Halloween was coming soon, and Fly-by-Night was planning what to do.
I think,
She said to her cat,
that we'll go as far toward the moon as we can. It's very cold up there. We don't want to go too high. Then we'll swoop and see if we can shake the stars, and if we run across a comet, we'll pull its tail. Won't that be nice?
"No,
Grumbled her cat.
I don't think it will be nice at all. You drive too fast. I suppose we've got to go out on Halloween, for that's the rule. But I'd rather take a lunch and have a quiet picnic on a mountain top. I don't like speed, and you speed, you know you do. I have to hang on to the broomstick with all my claws."
Oh,
Laughed the witch.
I can hardly wait. It's a pity we don't get a chance to fly except on Halloween. By the way, I wonder if our broomstick is in good order. It may need oiling.
She ran to check.
It seems fine,
She said happily.
but I'll put an extra splash of oil on just before we start to make sure we swoosh. The cat sat looking cross.
I don't want to swoosh.
He said, "Oh, you are a regular old footstool,"
Said Fly-by-Night.
"I've often told you that I'll make a bargain with you if you sit behind me. Quietly and don't growl. We'll have a picnic lunch when we get through riding and swooping. We'll take some catnip sandwiches and a bottle of goat's milk."
The cat looked pleased and gave a sound that was half growl, half purr. Halloween came, and there was a big bright moon. The witch and the cat got onto the broomstick with the picnic basket.
They rose and swooped. They had to be careful not to bump into the other witches and cats flying around. The air seemed full of them. After a while, the cat asked, "Haven't we had enough?
Can't we have our picnic now?"
"Oh, all right,"
said Fly-by-Night, and they came down on the craggy top of Moon Mountain.
They were settling themselves on a big stone to eat when another witch and cat swooped above them and came down and landed on a nearby stone.
"What are you doing?"
asked the other witch. "This is a picnic,"
said Fly-by-Night.
I didn't want one, but my cat hates riding around, and I am doing this just to please him.
What a fine idea.
Said the other witch.
And it's very funny, but my cat, Bouncy Ball, loves swooping and riding, but I don't. That's why he named me Stay at Home. And that's where I'd rather be right now. But he makes me fly around on Halloween. He says that's what cats and witches are supposed to do. What's your name, by the way?
Fly by night. And my cat is Footstool.
All this time, Stay at Home and Bouncy Ball had been staring at the good-looking picnic lunch.
Fly by night noticed this, and she said, "Will you have some lunch with us?"
That will be lovely, thank you.
Said Stay at Home.
They settled themselves to eat, and Fly by Night said,
It's too bad you don't like to swoop and ride, Stay at Home.
And it's too bad I don't either.
And said Footstool. Then Stay at Home's cat, Bouncy Ball, spoke up. I have an idea. Why can't I be your cat, witch, Fly by Night? And why can't your cat, Footstool, belong to Stay at Home? Then we'd each suit the other.
I wouldn't even have to go out on Halloween.
Said Stay at Home.
There'd be no restless cat to push me into it. I could stay by the fire with you, Footstool.
And I could swoop with you, Bouncy,
Laughed Fly by Night.
There'd be no lazy cat behind me. I could speed. The witches and the cats all looked pleased. When the picnic on the Moon Mountain was over, Stay at Home and Footstool went right back to Earth again.
But Fly by Night and Bouncy Ball.
The place of witches in the traditions of Halloween tells us a lot about the development of patriarchy and ageism that spread throughout Europe with Christianity and consequently arrived in North America with settler culture. Fly by Night and Stay at Home are really wise women, not witches. In the Middle Ages and early modern period in Europe, every village had a wise woman or two who acted as healer for the community, using herbs, poultices, prayers, and ointments in their craft. To gain such knowledge, these women were necessarily older, passing knowledge orally across generations before the written word and widespread literacy became the norm for European societies. They became the knowledge keepers and the tellers of stories. Entire communities depended on these figures to guide them from the cradle to the grave. As the wise women were the midwives who brought new life into the world, the healers who cured sickness when they could and offered prayers and solace when it was impossible, preparing bodies for funerals and burials. Christianity coexisted uneasily for decades and centuries with the countryside paganism in which wise women played a central role. With the Renaissance, the patriarchy of Christianity gained an ally in the pursuit of scientific and rational knowledge. Medical knowledge became something to be written down and taught in universities, only to be practiced by credentialed individuals. And those individuals would only be men for centuries, as universities did not accept women as students, wise or not. Little by little, the wisdom of these traditional practitioners was belittled and ridiculed as old wives' tales. Suspicion and paranoia were rampant in church and state as these institutions sought control over every aspect of individual lives. The habits of wise women became suspect. The tendency of these women to live alone, often on the edge of communities, made them the object of Christianity's wrath. Many had animals for companions and pest control. Wise women became witches in the eyes of the church, in league with evil and served by demons in animal forms, which means Footstool and Bouncy Ball were demons in cat suits. Thankfully, the witch trials and the burning times are behind us. And much of the old knowledge of the healing properties of herbs and other gifts practiced by wise women are once more valued in society. Midwifery managed to survive throughout the ages and is now a part of the medical community's practice rather than an outlier. There are plenty of wise women in and trained by our universities in medicine and all the other disciplines, although there's always room for improvement. And we might even be seeing a shift in the long practice of ignoring and devaluing our elders. Longer lifespans and healthier lifestyles mean more and more older people in our world, and their gifts, knowledge, and experience enrich us all.
Thank you, Tim. I invite us into a time of reflection, maybe settle in our seats a little, feel our hearts beat, feel our breath, and arrive into this time and this place. Our words of reflection come from Susan Brown this morning, from a piece she wrote called "Welcome All Saints." Welcome all you saints. Yes, you are saints. All of you are saints, for it is not by perfection that we are sainted, but rather by our actions. It is not by perfection that we are sainted, but rather it is by our presence. It is not by our perfection that we are sainted. Rather, it is by our giving. It is not by our perfection that we are sainted. Rather, it is by our living. It is not by our perfection that we are sainted. Rather, it is by our gathering together in love, with love, to become a nurturing, welcoming, healing, and faithful worshiping community. Welcome, all you saints. Holy One of blessing, as we gather on this eve of All Saints Day, let us call into our minds and hearts all those saints who blessed our lives. Those family saints, spouses and partners and mothers and fathers, grandparents and great-grandparents, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, and cousins, saints who modeled living for us, who stay with us through the days and years and all the times of need and joy. We give thanks. Those friend saints, childhood and adulthood friends, those young and not so young, tea time and coffee time and mealtime friends who listen and cry and laugh with us, we give thanks. Those work saints, friends, co-workers, bosses and employees and fellow travelers, those mentors and teachers who are with us when goals are hard to name and when trying to work with dignity and integrity seems so very hard to do. We give thanks. Those community saints, those who serve, those elected or to be elected, those educators and manufacturers and those nurturers whose presence make our lives easier and more pleasant, and for those who toil and strive to bring a vision of justice, equality, and peace to our world, we give thanks. To those unnamed, unknown saints, those who overcome obstacles and teach us how to overcome obstacles, those whose presence reminds us that we are called to do more than we ever thought possible. Those who bear burdens and let us assist them in the bearing of those burdens. Those who give willingly and unselfishly, those who demonstrate strength, courage, and wisdom in the face of pain and tragedy. We give thanks. Today, we are called to recognize all saints. Therefore, let us turn and recognize the sainthood of all in each other, the sainthood in ourselves. May it be so, and blessed be.
In my blood, in my bones, I hear your voice, I hear your call. Ancestors dance with me, ancestors chant with me. I hear your voice, I hear your call. In my blood, in my bones, I hear your voice, I hear your call. Ancestors dance with me, ancestors chant with me. I hear your voice, I hear your call. In my blood, in my bones, I hear your voice, I hear your call. Ancestors dance with me, ancestors chant with me. I hear your voice, I hear your call. In my blood, in my bones, I hear your voice, I hear your call. Ancestors dance with me, ancestors chant with me. I hear your voice, I hear your call. In my blood, in my bones, I hear your voice, I hear your call. Ancestors dance with me, ancestors chant with me. I hear your voice, I hear your call.
How to Make Friends with a Ghost by Rebecca Green. If you've ever been frightened by a ghost, the thought of becoming friends with one might seem awfully scary. But I assure you, ghosts are sweet creatures who need friends too, and who better to befriend them than you? This helpful guide will show you how to create a lifelong and beyond friendship. Introduction. Ghosts are tricky to track down, so it is advisable that you do not try to look for one. Most of the time, when a person thinks they have found a ghost, they have not. Figure 1, costume child. Figure 2, dusty Camelot. Figure 2, towel on doorknob. However, Dr. Frantonius Spukel, leading ghost expert and poet, writes, a ghost is nearly impossible to find. You can look till your face turns blue, but if you're a person who is sweet, warm, and kind, a ghost may come out and find you. Part 1, Ghost Basics. Do's and don'ts. Although you might be frightened when a ghost greets, you do not run. Ghosts are very sensitive creatures. Simply smile, wave, and tell the ghost your name. Once the ghost knows you're friendly, it will most likely follow you. Welcome the ghost into your home. If it is reluctant, a simple blow will get the ghost inside. Warning, never ever put your hand through a ghost. It can cause a serious tummy ache. Part 2, Ghost Care. I also recommend these other tasty dishes. Musty biscuits with toe jam, spiderweb sushi, thunderstorm soup, dead leaf salad with boutons, monster mashed potatoes. For these and more recipes, see my book, Superstitious and Nutritious Wacky Snackies for Your Ghost. Activities. Take your ghost for a walk in the woods. Ghosts love to collect leaves, acorns, and worms. Read scary stories together. Ghosts love to be read to. I suggest Tales of the Living by Mort Elbings. Tell jokes to your ghosts. They love to giggle. Knock knock, who's there? Boo, boo-hoo. Why are you crying? Take your ghost trick-or-treating on Halloween. Everyone will think it's a ghost costume. Throw a dance party. Ghosts like to groove to creepy music. I recommend Spooky Jams by the Spiders. Bedtime. Give your ghost a bedtime bath. I suggest warming water in a cauldron and blowing your own bubbles. Putting your ghost to bed every night will ensure it sleeps soundly with plenty of nightmares. Ghosts love nightmares. Make your ghost a cozy bed. Try laying down moss in the darkest corner of the attic. You can also make a canopy out of spider webs. Ghosts love to be sung to. Instead of words, try singing to them in eerie hums and wails. Wow! Hiding spots. Others may be wary around your ghost, so it's best to find good hiding spots. You can hide your ghost in a tissue box, or hide your ghost in a sock drawer. It's also a great place for napping. You can even hide your ghost in a refrigerator. Ghosts love to be cold. Hazards. Do not let your ghost be used as a tissue. Boo-goo removal is never easy. For cleaning tips, see my book From Ghost to Boast, Grooming Tips for Your Ghost. Do not let your ghost help with the laundry. Do not let your ghost get eaten. Others can mistake ghosts for food items, such as eggs, whipped cream, sour cream, and marshmallows. Part 3. Growing together. Growing up. When you move to a new home, make sure it's not already haunted. Ghosts do not like competition. When you start working, you will still have to make time for your ghost. I suggest a take your ghost to work day. When you start a family, your ghost will love many versions of you. No, ghost loves to play peekaboo. Boo! Growing old. You will get old, but your ghost never will. It will still want to collect leaves, acorns, and worms. If your eyes can no longer see, your ghost will be there to read to you. And if you can't remember jokes, your ghost can. It will be there to make you laugh. The best part about making friends with a ghost is that you'll have the sweetest friend forever, according to Dr. Fantonius Spookle. If you've been lucky enough to be found by a ghost that calls you its friend, then your friendship will last for it knows no bounds. You'll be friends even after the end.
Halloween as we know it has its roots in Samhain, an old Celtic festival that literally translated from Old Irish means summer's end. It speaks to a time when not only were people in the British Isles more connected to the earth, but belief in the supernatural was ubiquitous. Samhain is a cross-quarter day in the Celtic calendar, falling halfway between Mabon, the autumn equinox, and Yule, the winter solstice. At this junction of the year, when the harvest was in and the winter was coming, the divide between the world of the living and the dead was at its narrowest. It was a time of reflection, to remember and tell stories about loved ones who had passed. A harvest feast was prepared, and an empty chair was left for spirits who might want to join them. With the spread of Christianity, many of the old ways were co-opted into the new religion. Adapting the Celtic traditions to the Christian framework, the celebration of Samhain was gradually incorporated and obscured by All Hallows and All Saints' Day, the night before being marked as All Hallows' Eve or Halloween. The following day, November 12th, was marked in the liturgical calendar as All Souls' Day, extending the celebration of the departed. Today, that's celebrated as the Day of the Dead by Latin American Catholics. In England, there was a tradition of soulers who went door to door that developed in medieval times. They went door to door singing and saying prayers for the souls of those in the house, seeking a gift of food in return as well as fruits like apples. Soul cakes were also given out to soldiers for their efforts. Soldiers were mainly children and the poor. And they'd sing this song, a soul cake, we come hunting for soul cakes, an apple, a pear, a plum, or a cherry, any good thing to make us merry. One for Peter, one for Paul, three for him that made us all. It's not hard to see how these Celtic traditions were transported with English and Irish settlers in North America, eventually evolving into what we celebrate as Halloween today. Going door to door tonight, children are reenacting century-old rituals of asking for food in exchange for the blessings of the ancestors. And as a special treat for those who come to our Halloween party this afternoon, a number of us had made an old soul cake recipe to share with you all. Hope to see you there.
Number 1001, breaths. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Those who have died have never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
As I was baking soul cakes yesterday, I heard the whispers of my grandmother. I heard the whispers of my ancestors speaking gently into my life. I felt them with me, holding all of us and the sainthood of our lives here with us today. Let us listen for the whispers, for the voices and the wisdom of our ancestors. Go, beloveds, into the world, enjoying this day of frivolity and fun, and also a day of memory and remembrance as the veil draws thin. We look forward to seeing you at 1 o'clock at our Halloween party here on our grounds. And until then, we extinguish this chalice, but not the fire in our hearts until we meet again.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.